Graphic video shows dozens of people killed and injured in northern Nigeria on Saturday after a gasoline tanker truck overturned and fuel exploded. That's according to the Federal Road Safety Corps, which said most of the victims were impoverished locals who had rushed to scoop up the spilled gasoline after the truck overturned. Such incidents have become common in Africa's largest oil-producing country. The accident in Niger State follows a similar blast in Jigawa State last October. That incident killed 147 people, one of the worst such tragedies in Africa's most populous nation. The price of gasoline in Nigeria has soared more than 400% since Nigeria's president scrapped a decades-old subsidy when he came into office in May 2023.
After the explosion of the tank last year, October, that claimed the life of Nigerians who rushed to the scene of the incident to, get the much-needed petrol they ordinarily can lay their hands on. I made this particular recording, but I didn't just come around getting to posting the video. And so getting to see in less than 4 months, yet another incident getting to happen in the same situation, around the same issues bordering the scarcity of fuel and the hunger of the people and the way the people ordinarily have come to be educated or left uneducated as it concerns the dangers of going close to such a beast. I am yet to still come to terms with why anybody would want to risk their life in the way and manner these persons get to risk their life. And you can say all you want, but few things to take away from the situation is that people are still poorly educated, and in the face of scarcity, people don't really get to think. People don't really get to look at things from all angles before getting to take decisions. So people just get into the situation and trying to salvage their situation as much as they ordinarily can. And so you continue to see issues like this come up over and over and over again. And you would think this will be the last time, but I am not a messenger of doom, but I can tell you categorically this will not be the last time. There will still be incidents that will take the shape of the current one, and almost little or nothing will still be done. The government will still go about living their life. Everything will still go about the way things ordinarily have been. And so what is the point of the video you're about to watch? It goes down to say, we have to come together and tell ourselves that there are a lot of things we have to work collectively as one. And so in the video you'll be watching, you'll get to see where I talked about the difficulties in navigating the Nigerian scene and how collective action is in and about the only way for us to get out of our problems. And you get to see me talk about Frantz Fanon and the idea that we also have responsibilities as it concerns the growth and development of our country, of our nation, and we just relying on the politicians alone would not get to help us. I also talked about the disconnect between the political class and the average Nigerian, and I also talked about how corruption benefits nobody. It benefits nobody, it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit me, it benefits nobody. I have not seen, not now, not in the future, not in the past, where corruption ordinarily benefited anybody. It rather alienates the connections and the friendships and the ties that ordinarily should have been the case in a just, loving world. You get to see me talk about the vice president and the president being out of the country. That was because at the time of this record, they were indeed out of the country, a thing that ordinarily shouldn't have been the case. And I think Bayo Ononuga tried to give justifications that it didn't meet logic, and you get to see how that ordinarily played against his favor and against his party. But we live in Nigeria where anything goes, everybody gets to do what they want to do, and nobody gets to complain, because who are you to complain? Who are you to dare talk about the president and the vice president and telling them where to be? Not even Tito B can dare do that. If he does that, then he is an unpatriotic Nigerian in need of trauma attention, because according to them, he lost the elections and as such has no right to get to say anything within the country. I talked about Mr. Deleke's ordeal in trying to set up his power plant that he had said would kick off in January. And you get to see how even someone like him has to, tap into the divine And you get to see him talk about the idea of tapping into the divine with regards to the Sabbath and keying into the Sabbath grace and blessing so that he will ordinarily get a contract that ordinarily should have little or nothing to do with his God. And so the list continues, and we are still here, 2025. We don't know how things will turn out in the next couple of months. We hope for the better. We hope for a better country. We hope that things ordinarily get to change, and we hope that our leaders, from the highest to the lowest, and to ourselves also, that we get to come to tell ourselves that indeed we need to come together to look at our problem, because the times are changing. We should do what Frantz Fanon would tell us to do. And what would Fanon talk about? He would advise and admonish people that collective action is the only way to do. The elites are not willing to relinquish power anytime soon. They will not do it. Not even you, who is agitating, would ordinarily want to relinquish the kind of power you have. With the level of insecurity, you ordinarily know you will be going to fall back to, because humans, one way or the other, I say this with reservation, are selfish, but it is not something that is ordinarily out of the box. Nigerians aren't bad people. Nigerians are not people who are not capable of doing good things. Nigerians are not people who ordinarily should be at the current level of affairs they are currently. Nigerians are not people that should be suffering the way we are suffering at the moment. And I say this for a whole lot of reasons. One of them being the fact that if you look around and if you look so closely, you get to see the level of generosity amongst Nigerians, particularly online. There's always this canvassing for one form of donation or the other. No Colora is at the forefront of it. And the whole lot of other persons there who get to do these things. And sometimes you begin to think, probably this is a prank or something. This is like a stage stuff, or it's like a PR kind of packaging. What it goes to say that we are very generous people. We are very loving people. Just that sometimes a whole lot of things come in the way, and things like tribalism comes to the forefront of things. Things like ethnicity is put first before almost anything, and individualism is taking a great toll on us, and this tribal stuff gets to divide us. But beyond this, we have a whole lot of things we share in common. These are things ordinarily that I've seen to it that people become so generous. Not as though they have so much, but crowdfunding is a thing well done in Nigeria. And so one begins to ask himself, what then is the problem with the governing class? What then is the problem with the ruling class, the so-called elites? And how are people not ordinarily getting to see the things that they are ordinarily supposed to be seeing beyond the scale they get to look at it? Because the scales they look at it are scales from things like crowdfunding to help a particular family, and most of the times it's material relief and it ends there. But on the larger scale of things, one begins to ask himself, isn't it the case that if people can ordinarily come out to crowdfund, shouldn't they also be looking at the possibility and the fact that they can only crowdfund for people in need because the government is not functioning, because the society ordinarily is not working the way ordinarily it should work? And I say this with lots of reservation, but at the same time with the fear that I don't want to sound so too empty, in the sense that at the time of this record, the president and the vice president are out of the country, and they are not coming back anytime soon. Days back, Bayo Onunuga had talked about the fact that the president can do whatever he wants to do with his life, as though he's just anybody. He's not just anybody. He's the president of the country, legitimately or not. Unfortunately, for someone like me, he is the president of Nigeria. And I say this
with all manner of seriousness in me, because it was a state capture and it's still a state capture, and it's something that I cannot really understand. And from the time of his declaration as the president up until now, we've seen the catastrophe that has become our situation in a country like Nigeria. Well, then one begins to act like David Hundenyo, who always asks, why is it that Nigerians are not willing to die for a particular thing? Because we not taking a decision to die for a particular thing leaves us also with the decision to die to anything. And the things that get to kill us in Nigeria are many. The things that get to kill us in that country are not few. It's not one thing. A whole lot of things get to see to it that we die, maybe slowly. Maybe we cook like the human body cook. Maybe levels of entropy. It's slower than that of the insect, as ordinarily it is from an evolutionary standpoint, but it still goes to say that we die either ways. Whether we choose to die or we don't choose to die, we die. Choosing to die for freedom or choosing just to sit down, we have chose to sit down and watch death come meet us. And so if Theodore Roosevelt was to talk to us, he would not tell us any other thing than what he wrote. He would not tell us any other thing than what he has said. He will not tell us any other thing than the man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who errs, who comes short again and again, who knows that there's no effort without error and shortcoming, who actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who knows in the end, if he succeeds, the triumph of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall not be with those cold and timid souls, who neither know success nor defeat. Those are the lines he would tell us. Those are the lines he would say to us, because indeed, those are the lines we actually need. But we have not been able to collectively come together and tell ourselves we need a common ground, we need a common front, we need a common guidance as to how we ordinarily should lead our life, as to how we ordinarily should go about our daily activities down here. And so we continue to die, and so we continue to seemingly contribute to the irresponsibility of our leaders, because we don't confront them with our needs, with the necessary strategy that we ordinarily need to do. And so you keep on seeing people die and die and die. The recent being the tanker incident that killed Nigerians with the Inferno it got to produce, and I begin to ask myself, what were they ordinarily thinking? And I see this a whole lot, when we're growing up then, there was this tanker incident, a truck had a problem, and then people came up to get a whole lot of petrol, and I learned after many years that everybody who were involved in that particular incident actually died. And so one begins to ask himself, at what point are Nigerians going to learn that we not taking a decision as to see how we better our country, as to see how we better our lives, as to see how we come to make sense of our existence, we ordinarily have taken a decision not to take a decision. And it leaves us hanging, it leaves us empty, it leaves us sitting down there, not even ordinarily knowing how to go, not ordinarily knowing what we are supposed to do. And so one begins to ask himself, what should we do? We should do what Frantz Fanon would tell us to do. And what would Fanon talk about? He would advise and admonish people that collective action is the only way to go. The elites are not willing to relinquish power anytime soon. They will not do it. Not even you, who is agitating, would ordinarily want to relinquish the kind of power you have. With the level of insecurity, you ordinarily know you will be going to fall back to, because humans, one way or the other, I say this with reservation, are selfish, but it is not something that is ordinarily out of the box. And so you begin to ask yourself, how are we going to take this collective action? How are we going to do this? We can do this by, looking at our shared problems, regardless of whether you're a Yoruba man, or you're an Igbo man, or you're an Hausa person, or you're an Ogoja man, or you are from Buki, or you are from Birom, or you are from Ibibiu, or you are from Udupani, or you are from Ugeb, or you're from Ububra. Just wherever you think you come from, we share the same problems. Our problems are not distinct from each other. We all have parents who live in the village who would ordinarily not have the amenities they ordinarily have, even in their even in their current life. So they will continue to stay where they are. They will continue to live the kind of life they live, and they will continue to lead themselves up until the period they get to die, and not coming to terms with the daily reality and the advancement the world have come to see. Not necessarily the best of quality of life a human being ordinarily was supposed to have within a short period that is our life and our existence down here. And so one begins to ask himself, what then can we be so certain about as Nigerians? It is the fact that we all share this commonality. And above all, with our political class and elites we have up there, is the fact that we are going to die. The fact that we are going to die is a thing that should humble us, memento mori. But we don't. We don't know that. We don't look at that from that picture. We don't even want to believe that we all are going to die. Some of us think some of us will not die. Some of us just believe, some persons are invincible. Look around. Who have you seen? Not even Marcus, the great emperor of Rome, is still alive. Not even, he knew he would die. So it's not even a thing. We shouldn't even bring him up as an example. Niccolo Machiavelli, where is he with all his big philosophies and everything? Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, where are they? They aren't here. Not even the kind-hearted Mandela is still around. Not even Winnie Mandela, the wife. Not Z. Not Murtala Mohammed, the brute soldier. Not Gowon. Gowon is still alive. Not Ojukwu. Not Gandhi. Not Martin Luther King. Not Malcolm X. Not Theodore Roosevelt, not J.F. Kennedy. The great people we talk about, they aren't here. And those who are still alive, you see them very frail. From the good people like Papi Obisong to the likes of Gowon and the sheer controversy and complexity that is the history that has become his life. You get to see a whole lot of things from a whole lot of persons around us, and you see that these things are so common. We share a lot in common. How long are you going to stay on earth, and why are you doing the things you are doing? And so Nigerians continue to suffer. Suffering that is not necessary. Like the way we suffer in Nigeria is not necessary. The level of hardship we go through in Nigeria is not necessary. It's not befitting of our existence. It's not befitting of our life on earth. We shouldn't be suffering the way we are suffering. But no, we don't have a choice. So we suffer. We don't have a choice. So we do what? We suffer. And as we suffer, we continue to suffer because there's no way out than through. And so if one begins to ask me, what are the things we suffer from? Do you have roads? Do you have basic amenities? Does the place where my mother stay have electricity? Or does the place where your father stay at the moment have a library? All the things that ordinarily should make sense for life in the 21st century are the things we don't have. And colonialism is not a thing we should take lightly. And I see a lot of persons who get to say, we shouldn't talk about colonialism so much. But if you travel through the length and breadth of the Western world, as far as also the Asian world even, you get to see prints of this particular exploit that happened. It's just like somebody steals your money today, and in the next 60 years, it has been finally admitted that the person stole your money, and you know the identity of the person who stole your money. And then somebody is telling you, oh, it was my father that stole your money, so please, let's leave it. Meanwhile, the structures put in place and the monies and all those stuffs are there. And then you see another person bring up the argument as to not coming to terms or having needs for restitution. I know it can be a very difficult thing. I know it can be challenging sometimes, but we are a very, very clever, creative species. We ordinarily should come to make sense of our life here. We ordinarily must come to make sense of our problems, and we can do that. And one of the ways we do that is by fixing our problems. It's by looking squarely at our lives and telling ourselves that at the moment, we are not living the best of our life. At the moment, things aren't working for anybody. There are no hospitals. If you are not a Nigerian listening to me, there are very few hospitals in Nigeria that can treat you, and you can comfortably beat your chest and say, I have received treatment. There are no roads. If you're talking about the percentage of roads we have, there are no roads. The ones we have needs maintenance. The ones we have needs rebuilding. The ones we have needs checking. And they're just concentrated in towns. Villages go through hell. Villages go through a whole lot of problems just to keep up with the demands of the 21st century. And it is very sad, annoying, and very, very offensive that the people every day, by their leaders, not by strangers. We talk about strangers and the political influence of people from outside, second. But the crop of leaders within are so scared, they can't grab themselves by the balls and face their Western counterpart and face their foreign colleagues who try to put their people down. And I begin to ask myself, if it was your family member, wouldn't you want to do everything necessary to protect such person's interest and such person's life? And it's not as if Nigeria is not a family to us. It's a family, but we've refused to be patriotic. We've refused to look at Nigeria as what Nigeria is. We refuse to look at Nigeria for what it is. And what is Nigeria? Nigeria is not just a name. Nigeria is a family made up of people the same way our families are made up of people: men, women, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, neighbors, townsmen and townswomen, kingsmen and kingswomen, friends, enemies, business colleagues, partners, classmates, partners in business, players, a team, a family, a state, a nation, a country. But we really don't look at this like this. We really don't see these things, We don't see these things this way. We allow the tribe to control us. We allow our ego to direct us. We allow our problems to be a justification for what we ordinarily should do. We should hold our politicians by their balls. We should hold them by these metaphoric balls and get to tell them, we need solutions to our problems. And we need it now. Because we need patience, and we need the patience now to show you how impatient we are. But we aren't. If you've ever been to the presidential villa, I've been there a couple of times. You get to see how IBB planned it. You get to see how it was made to be where it is. The level of security around that particular area, before you even get into the DSS environment, doing as though you are going towards Maraba, you already see the level of security down there. And then if you turn the other way, let's leave it. Let's leave it. Let's leave that. But then when you look at the fact that you have to pay 60,000 naira in a month as transportation alone, you know there is a problem in the country. You can't tell me anything. Your salary is 85,000, right? In a day, you're supposed to pay 1.5 per trip. In a week, you're supposed to pay 15,000 naira. In a month, you are supposed to pay 60,000 naira for transportation alone. You are left with how much? 25,000 naira. And this is Lagos. You are living in Lagos. Lagos. How do people survive in Nigeria with 85,000 naira? That's 85,000 naira those days. When we had 85,000 naira, when we were growing up, we're like, it's big money, because ordinarily it's big money. But no, our politicians sit down, they take millions for themselves, for their family. How many of their children are in our country? And if they are in our country, how many of them go to the type of schools we go to? How many of them do the type of things we do? How many of them eat the type of food we eat? How many of them that are not our brothers and sisters who are there? They are not strangers. They are not foreigners. They are not gods. We made them. They are, or we've allowed them be what they have become. They know us. They know we are not doing anything. They know we are not going to push so hard. They know we will not try to ask for what ordinarily and rightfully belongs to us. They know we love God so much more than the way God ordinarily, if we should say that, if we should commit the heresy, more than God loves us. Because we are so tied to our religious beliefs and this fanaticism as it concerns, fatum, that's faith, predestination. We've been destined to do this, we've been destined to do this. And then so the gods are not to blame. But is that really the case? I don't really believe in determinism. Though there are a lot of things that look very chaotic. Some look as though they have been planned through fate. But that's a conversation for another day. But Nigerians tell themselves day in, day out, we have to look up to God. Our help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and the earth. But the Lord has said, to the things of the earth I've given to you as dominion. Multiply, plant a seed and it grows. Plant a stick that can germinate. It germinates, or it continues, it sprouts and it continues to grow. Cut stems of flowers and then get to stock, and then you see them coming out. Get timber, get stones, get mortar, get steel, get all of this stuff into rods and into beams and into ships. You construct edifices for yourself. You make bridges, you build roads, you take your technological advancement to the next level. These things are the things God has said to us. He's not saying he's going to do everything for us. And that is even on the angle of we say people still talking about God from a very, very anthropomorphic standpoint. And so our gross level of irresponsibility leaves us where we are. I call it irresponsibility because we are, to a great extent, irresponsible. I mean, it is not a thing we should take lightly. We leave these men abuse us. They abuse us on every front, from the level of education we have to the level of policies they get to make, to the level of fear we get to have for them, to the level of trepidation we get to have for them, to everything we allow them get to tell us as things they ordinarily shouldn't tell us, as things we ordinarily shouldn't accept. We conceive this stuff as though we are in an abusive relationship, because we are in an abusive relationship. And this is not even a relationship, this is an ownership. They own us. And just like Niccolo Machiavelli would say, if you are given the chance to choose between love and fear, choose fear. Choose to be feared. As such, they have made us to be feared. As such, we cannot say almost anything to them without risking our life. We cannot even challenge them without being afraid. We cannot even say anything without having the fear of what happens to us, what happens next. What can happen beyond death? What can happen beyond death? As Oppenheimer will always get to say, death is the unifier. It's the unifier of all men. It has come upon us and it's going to come upon us every time. How we die ordinarily matters, my people. We shouldn't die like chicken. We are people badly educated. We are people traumatized. Our levels of education are not things ordinarily we should be very proud of. But then you see Nigerians coming to defend the sham that is the educational system we have. We see ourselves telling ourselves that things are the way they are because they're supposed to be like that. But no, they aren't supposed to be like that. We can do better. We can live better. We can strive and be happy. Everybody can be happy here. But it takes collective effort. You cannot want to live a happy life when a thing as your survivor is left to the determination of the next man. And the next man who sometimes within this capitalistic way of doing things don't even have you at heart. What do I mean? You listen to Gibran. And you hear the whole idea. You hear him talk and you see him write and you're like, where did he get all these ideas from? Because indeed, you have to pity the nation that doesn't plant its own food, that doesn't cultivate its own crop, that depends on the next man for survival. And most of the time, and even almost all the time, in this world when business is at the forefront, where utilitarianism is the thing taken so serious, nobody is going to help you. So how do you want to die? That is if death becomes necessary, because that's what we are always afraid of. Because that's what the politicians have told us to do. And that's what the politicians have told us to imagine. They have told us to do that over and over again. Fear. Each time you think about protest, know that you are going to die. Each time you think about protest, know you'll be in prison. Each time you think about protest, know you're going to lose the freedom of your accounts. Each time you think about protest, know that something is going to happen to you. Look at your family. Don't you like your family? Don't you like your wife? Don't you like your husband? Do you want to give up this? And these things you ordinarily want to do. And so we continue to keep quiet and we continue to die slowly until there is nothing left of our life, until there is nothing left of us down here. It's so annoying that we as a people can go down the way we go down and do nothing, so that we as a people can die, and die so cheap, and die so broke, and die so poor, with nothing, with nothing attached, with nothing in our life, with nothing to live for. And so one begins to ask himself, for how long must we continue like this? Just like the Holy Book will say, do we continue to sin so that grace will abound? He said, God forbid. Because my brother, my sister, you think you are young now, you think you have fewer concerns, you think you have your life to preserve. But you preserve that life in misery for a very long time, as opposed to standing up to powers that be and try to be upright yourself. Because if you start like this and you continue paying lecturers bribe to get things, you become a lecturer tomorrow, and most of the times you don't even get to know what you even supposed to teach students. And these students will come and meet you, and then you tell them the same things you've been told. Bribe, 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 abuse, dictatorship, control. And so the chain continues. If you think you want to save your life, wait until you enter the bad roads. Wait until you enter those bad roads in Nigeria and things go out of hand. Wait until your brother's child dies. Wait until, even if you claim you are secure, your neighborhood people barge into your house one day and begin to beat the hell out of you and steal the money ordinarily you sweated for, the money you were trying to preserve, and probably even take your life, and probably even do stuff despicable to the ears. Wait, just calm down and watch how things play out. For how long are you going to live in that levels of fear? Look at the levels of gates and fences we have in our countries. Look at the levels of security we've mounted around the world. Look at the way things have come down to us. And you begin to ask yourself, if Foucault was not right, if we have not been socially engineered, if we've not been made to fear the way we are now, the way we ordinarily are now being afraid of a lot of things. Wait, just calm down until there's no food with your money for you to buy. Wait until there's no security again. Completely, the countries has gone down to complete anarchy. That prayer we get to pray, Nigeria in distress. We prayed that prayer for a very long time. I learned it's still being prayed up to you now. Is there still anarchy? Are we in doom? Yes. Are we in trepidation? Are we being scared? Yeah. So one begins to ask himself, hasn't God been listening to our cry? Hasn't God been listening to our problem? Is the wrong person to channel this particular stuff to whosoever you are trying to juxtapose as a God, or as the supreme person that controls the affairs of life? I don't think that's how it ordinarily works. You might have your religious beliefs and you might have your opinions as how you want to come and understand how God works. But I tell you for free, if God works that way you are thinking and you are hoping and you want him to work, where will our sense of duty, meritocracy, our sense of judgment, our sense of punishment come from? Because we cannot leave everything to the hands of the possibility of a supreme being that controls the affairs of our life down here. Because it will not just work. It will be we being irresponsible, and we have been irresponsible to a great extent. What must we do? We must see our crude oil is extracted and extracted well, and policies laid out clearly for everybody to see. We must allow these things to be clearly expressed for everybody to get to see. Because we might think we are early, we might think our life is functioning well, we might think things are working so well for us. But then when you look at the grand scale, when you look at the larger picture of what life is for an average Nigerian, you begin to understand the levels of difficulties and the layers of problems we have as a people. And until we come together and until we come and tell ourselves that there's corruption, and this corruption is not benefiting anybody, technically, even the so-called leaders that you think this thing is benefiting, in one way or the other, it's not benefiting them completely, because they have to do it at the expense of their conscience. They have to do this at the expense of the way they think, the way they function, the way they believe, and the way they ordinarily are supposed to be. So their levels of corrupt practices get to deprive them of their own humanity, gets to deprive them of their own sanity, gets to deprive them of their own humane attributes that ordinarily should be what every human should get to possess. And so you see them become beasts, you see them become confused, you see them become foolish, you see them become stupid, you see them do stupid stuff, you see them lie outrageously, you see them with low thinking capacities, you see them with poor policies left and right. So that even when the few amongst them who ordinarily want to do well, they will not have the opportunity because they are caught up within the whole circus. Tell me, where are all the people that came up from a party like Labour Party, thanks to the patronage and the name of Peter Obi during the last elections? Are they so different from the current situation where we find ourselves? Tell me, aren't they the same people we still ordinarily group together and complain about? Even those who try to even do one thing or the other, it goes back to the same thing we've been talking about. They are like lost, because they are like a drop in the ocean. They are like a serious minority, and it's not helping anybody. It's not helping them, it's not helping anybody. And so we continue down this spiral, we continue down this particular route. And again, I ask you, my brother, I ask you, my sister, for how long are we going to die before we ordinarily look at things squarely? Look at those that died from the petrol carnage and the Inferno that engulfed their life and snuffed them out of existence within milliseconds. Imagine if the country had a level of stability it's ordinarily supposed to have. But no, oil has always been a problem in Nigeria. That's why sometimes they say sometimes there are certain things you shouldn't even know, so that you don't get to kill yourself all of a sudden. Mining was a very, very profitable venture in Nigeria until we discovered oil, and we left mining. And now mining is back. At the same time, we are still complaining about oil for almost how many years? So that the up north is currently having the greatest level of insurgency it has never seen before, because miners have to mine, and most of the time it's done illegally. Most of the time it's done in corrupt ways, because we are too selfish. We think what is ours belongs to us, and what belongs to all of us belongs to all of us. And we see ourselves go down this spiral, and we see ourselves do a whole lot of bad things, and we see ourselves do a whole lot of corrupt stuff just to make the money, just to make the bag. We exploit people, we kill, we maim, we lie, we blackmail, we cheat for things ordinarily. Sometimes I ask myself if we really need. But that's a conversation, like I said, for another day. So for today, we are talking about very simple stuff. We're talking about things down here, down to earth with us. What are we talking about? A thing like Nigeria. How do we go? How do we progress? How do we make headway? How do we channel our attention and our hearts and our minds and our sinew to the right course of things? How do we function as a people alive? It is to listen to someone like David Hunde. It is to look beyond the radicalism that is the life of a very dark man. It is to look beyond the complexity of the life of someone like Showore. It is to look to the poetry and the body of work that is the work of D.K. Chukwumerije. It is to look at the poems of David Odease and get to tell yourself that indeed we can make sense of our life. It is to look at the works of John Chinaka and tell yourself this is a young man trying to make a name for himself. It is to look to those persons out there suffering and learn and get inspiration from their suffering and say, I don't want this to continue. We cannot continue like this because we die like chicken, we die like flies, we die so cheap. If there is the base amount of money paid for the death of people, ours will be the cheapest because, come on, we just wake up, we just come to this life, we just eat, we just survive, and we don't even see the food enough to eat. We struggle to do a lot of things, and then we die. And after we die, what? We die. Nobody remembers us. Nobody thinks of us because who wants to think about a dead person? Life moves on. If you know how fast they stop thinking about dead people, you want to try as much as possible to be alive. Your family members, they will cry, everything. They will still eat. They will still go to toilet. They will still drink water. They will still sleep. They will still feel sad. They will still feel happy. It's the circle of life. It's the circle of life. But the time we've been given down here is a time we can use and make the earth a better place and make the world a place where all of us ordinarily should live happily and should live well. We are ordinarily supposed to live here well. Charlie Chaplin will tell us in the last speech of the great dictator, soldiers, do not give yourself to brute. Do not become machine minds and machine hearts, and we can do better. And sometimes I think about Gil Huron and what he has come to say about the revolution not being televised. Because indeed, the revolution should not be televised. The revolution is a thing we should see in our daily lives. It's a thing we should look at ourselves and tell ourselves, you know, these things are things we need. These things are things we don't need. These things are things, this suffering is not needed, my people. This suffering is not needed. We suffer too much. We suffer too much. We suffer too much. I don't know if you don't know you suffer, but I know I suffer. I suffer in my mind. I suffer in my heart. I have brothers and sisters in Nigeria. I have a mother in the country. I have uncles and aunties. I have friends. I have cousins. I have neighbors. I have those who don't know me. I have Nigerians. I have the Almajiris. And come on, in the 21st century, we still think people like the Almajiri should be people given a specific treatment, a special treatment, and then we don't want to call to question and see to it that we don't do this. Everybody wants to appeal to the North. Everybody wants to appeal to the North because of the demographic they have down there. While it is a team, you don't keep quiet and allow the country to die and the country to wallow. The Almajiris remain a threat to the national security of the country on many fronts. Not the security as how you want to understand it, but security as ordinarily how it is. You will be discussing and you will be having conversations and interaction with children who ordinarily have been deprived of education from the very barest of their life. And they will continue to be like that until they get old. So that if you talk about a thing like diplomacy, they'll be looking at you like, if you talk about radicalism, they'll be looking at you like, if you talk about protest, it is only when it's affecting their crop and their farms that they will come out to protest. If you talk about development and strategies to urban planning and all that, they are looking at you like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? But we can have a conversation and see to it that implementations are done. We know how to make amends in 1 week, in 2 weeks, and then pass a bill to change the national anthem. We know how to budget. We know how to pad our budgets. We know how to give all the justification they give in the National Assembly as to the things they do when it favors them. They know how to do these things very, very fast. They don't even take them. They know what to do. They don't do it. So what is stopping us from ordinarily implementing change for these people? Just imagine somebody who is an Almajiri is your son or your daughter. Even with the level of suffering you get to go and the difficulty it takes you to train your children in school. Imagine that you have a son or a daughter who is an Almajiri and you are properly educated and you are well exposed and you are so-called civilized in the 21st century. Imagine what your reaction will be when you see your child sitting in Lagos, sitting under a jam bridge, that's the Jubilee Bridge, or close around that area, begging, or in Anthony, or if it's in Abuja, around Kubwa, or Guzape, or Maitama, and begging. They buy them this blue, red, and all the shades and the colors it comes with. And it's done as if they are training them in school. That's an institution, the institution of Almajiri. And then they get to go on the streets. They tell them how to pester people. And if they grow up tomorrow and they don't have a source of livelihood, what would they do? Wouldn't they the streets and become nuisance to the society? Wouldn't they be ripped off of their dignity, their human dignity? Wouldn't there be an alarm in the future for a group of people like that? Wouldn't there be a problem? I want to know. I think there will be a problem. I think there will be confusion. I think there will be conflict. What? Let's think about it squarely. Let's think about it critically. What do we want to see? A war with these people with no chance at coming to better their life? We must be a joke. We are people that joke a lot. We are people that must come to terms with the fact that life is hard. When you want to even tell people to read, how do you even keep your mouth and how do you even keep your face to construct such a sentence? Because telling somebody to read and to buy books and not to boycott all the piracy laws is like telling an elephant to fly. It's not the flying elephant in the theater world or in the movies or in the cartoons. Not that. Talking about a real elephant flying. It's like telling an elephant to indeed fly, or a crocodile to live on land for the rest of his life, or a fish to survive outside of water, or a human being to be in water for forever without supportive gears and all that. But this is a reality. As such, our children are not given the necessary tools it takes to think rationally. Our children are not given the necessary tools it takes to function well. Our children are not given the necessary tools it takes to build creativity. It takes to churn out the wealth that is our life, the wealth that is the way we get to do things. Our children die slowly, even before they turn 10. Our children get confused in their numbers. They are led astray. They are misinformed. They are poorly informed. They are not even informed most of the times. And they die of ignorance. And they die shameless. And they cannot even stand and compete with their peers abroad. And sometimes when somebody say this thing, somebody is downplaying the country. Come on, are you living in space? Are you living in Europe? Are you living somewhere that I don't know? I want to know, because which part of Nigeria are you living? Even in the so-called Asokoro, they don't depend on electricity. So that when I look at the things such as the band A and the band B and the band C, I ask myself, are we joking? Which one is band A? Which one is band B? Which one is band C? If not classism at its finest, if not classism at its finest, basic things are not made available to us. We don't even have what it takes to produce electricity. If you listen to Mr. Deleke in the recent conference, he gave a speech about the difficulties that it has taken him to come to secure the power plant he's trying to bring to this thing completion and possibly launch by January.
I'm a businessman in Nigeria. I'm in the electricity business. I own power plants. I generate presently about 15% of the electricity need for Nigeria. I have Chinese engineering companies that work for me. I'm building, almost completed by January, by the grace of God, my new power plant that will be the biggest thermal plant in Nigeria. It's a 1,250 megawatts power plant to become operational in January. But during the course of the design and getting all the permits, we ran into difficult government officials. Environmental reasons, our permit was denied. The particular government official that I held a meeting with told me to my face that your project will never see the light of day. But while he was saying that, I was saying in my mind that this guy is talking as if it's God. And because we are not God, I couldn't say it out, but I was saying it in my mind that God, listen to him. Because it's not God, whatever he's saying is null and void. I'm not going to be worried about it. So I left, disappointed, of course, and I told my Chinese friend that, look, unfortunately, we have these difficulties, and it seems that it's going to be a while before we can get this going again. Meanwhile, it's a 1,250 megawatts power plant. Price tag is about $2 billion US. So it's not small money. So in the process, a lot of money has already gone into design and preliminaries before we got to the stage where we must have the environmental permit before we can break ground. So my Chinese friend said, what are we going to do now? This is very serious, because the Afro-Exim Bank of China was involved. And that might have meant bankruptcy for him, for his company, because they have invested so much with me in this. So I told him not to worry, that everything's going to be all right. And he said that he's worried. Do you know somebody that can take you to the president or speak to someone? I said, don't worry about it. That everything was going to be okay. And he said, are you sure? I said, no, I'm not going to do this on this. I'm coming to see you. It seems that you found a solution, so I'm coming to see you. So while on his way, I got on my knees and I prayed about it. And I asked God to make all things well. And so when my friend came to be face to face, said that, yes, Mr. Chairman, he called me Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, what is the solution about this? It seems you are not worried. I said, I'm not worried because I've prayed about it. And God is going to make it right. My friend became very upset with me. He said, God will not do this. He says, this is not about God now. This is not about your church. Please, Mr. Chairman, put this aside. We are talking serious issues now. And I said, that is the only way I know to go about it. On the Sabbath, it was like on Thursday, Friday, I prayed about it. On Sabbath, prayed as I always do, and presented this issue before God Almighty. And I challenged God, and I said, God, see, my friend said you cannot do this. So please show up. Not only to convince my Chinese friend, but also the government official that is trying to block us. Let him know that you are God Almighty and there's none like you. So continue to pray about it. The following week, on a Wednesday, I got a call from the Ministry of Power that I should come to the minister's office. So I went, and I was handed over my permit. Amen. I didn't know what happened. All I did was pray about this. So I asked one of the officials, what exactly happened? Why am I collecting this from this office and not the other office? Oh my God. And the person told me that a particular government official that wanted to block us took him, and that he was flown to Germany for treatment. And that some of the applications for permit for other types of factories, not electricity, was sitting on his table, and that his boss, somebody that knew his boss, the top person, I'm using the word because I don't want to say exactly the office. So his boss now said he should bring all the applications to his table since he was not there. So my application was one of those that was taken. And his boss wrote on my own application, this is a very good proposal. We need electricity as we need in the air. This should be encouraged. And I want a report on the progress of this project every quarter. So that was why I was called to come and pick up from the minister's office the permit. So when I saw my Chinese friend and I told him that we have the permit already, he said, "What did you do?" I said, "I prayed. That's what I did." He said, he didn't believe me. He said, did you bribe anybody? I said, "No." It's even dangerous. So I can't even bribe people at that level. He said, "So you believed your prayer?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What happened?" I said, that other guy took ill and he was flown outside for treatment. And he said, "Did you ask your God to make him sick?" I said, "No, I did not ask my God to make him sick. I just prayed. And that all I know is that all things work together for good for those who love God." So I told him it was God that did it. Thereafter, something stuck to the mind of my friend who did not believe in God. Anytime we run into any challenges during the process of building this huge power plant, he was no more worried. Well, he tells me that, "Chairman, when you go to church on Saturday, report to your God, okay?" And I will assure him that on the Sabbath, when I go to church, I'm going to report to the Lord.
You get to see the difficulty in his life, in the life of someone like him. This is somebody who is this is somebody who is well connected. This is somebody who is not poor. This is somebody who is very rich. But then this is somebody who also gets to fight a whole lot. He's not alone. Look at Dangote. Look at Mr. Naji. But Naji, the other side, in the east. Look at what they get to go through because of the levels of policies they get to do. And sometimes you ask yourself, if DK is a prophet, why won't he be a prophet? Isn't he a poet? Are poets not meant to be prophets, telling us the things we ordinarily don't want to hear? You hear him say the things he get to say, that no matter your education, qualification, or your achievement, you are subject to the mentality of those in government. No matter the strength you bring to your startup, government can just kill it with just one pronouncement. And you get to hear them say, those who are against say, nah, those who are this say, yeah, they say, it's done. And DK will say, no degree you own, no decision you make, no protest you stage can save you from those elected to make and enforce our laws. Because the way they see things is a world around you, for you cannot drive faster than the person driving you. Because the politicians in office hold the yam and the knife. What we elect is to give the elected the power to decide whether security operatives can murder citizens and walk away free. DK maintains these things are in the hands of those who run the country. Politicians in office, they hold the farm and the seat. For to elect is to give the elected the power to decide the ways we get to do things. The ways we get to do things. Come on, we are not joking. Our lives are not to be toyed with the way we allow them to be toyed with. And so we continue to suffer. We continue to go down this particular path the way we continue to go. And one begins to ask himself, to what end? To what end do we do the things we do? To what end? From where to where? From where to where to where? From where to where to where? When are we going to get the economy right? When are we going to get things right? One way to do it is not to go about looking for messiahs. There's nobody worthy of dying for us. We all should die for ourselves if we must make this country work. Let us stop making matters out of people and making them demigods and giving a cold worship to them. And we can do better. We should live better. We should grow better. We should grow stronger. And we don't do it so well. And so our children continue to die and our children continue to be deprived of their future. We have borrowed so much from their future. We've borrowed so much from their life. We are owing them into the future. We have slept their sleep. We have eaten their food. We have used their resources, and we will not even lived our life enough. We have not even grown enough. We are not even ready yet. And until we become ready, until we make sense of our life, until we know how to grow down here, I don't see us making progress. Not today, not tomorrow, not anytime soon. They say talk is cheap, but talk can provoke action. We can start talking. We can have conversations about a lot of things. I am open for dialogues. I'm open for conversations, civil conversations, as much as that is needed. I am Biringkpa in Mecca. I'm your brother. See you next time. If you do like this video, please share with your family members, like, comment, and see you next time.